Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimbaloye in Lagos. Let's quickly tell you about the situation as regarding the probe and the investigation on the suspended acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, is expected to open his defense today before the presidential panel investigating his agency's activities. Channel Television's gathered that Mr. Magu returned to further answer questions from the panel yesterday after receiving an invitation from it in the afternoon. This comes about a week after he was released from detention after spending 10 days. Mr. Magu is being investigated following several allegations bordering on fraud leveled against him by the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, who was suspended as acting EFCC chairman by the president pending the conclusion of his investigation by the panel. Tonight, we return to what has become a very, very difficult situation to chew for Nigerians, and that is the situation at the NDDC, the Niger Delta Development Commission, what has become a major worry in the issues of corruption in the country. The Minister, Godswill Akpabio, has written to the National Assembly. The National Assembly, the Senate, has released its report. The House has taken a move. Where do we go from here? We will hear tonight from the man who is in the know, who has perhaps headed this NDDC before. How did we get to this point? And how do we get out of this corruption quagmire? But first, let's check out your political roundup.
President Muhammadu Buhari has visited Bamako in Mali on an ECOWAS peace mission. This is the president's first visit abroad since the outbreak of the coronavirus, and is spotted with a face mask, which is seen to be wearing for the first time in public. Earlier in the week, former President Goodluck Jonathan, the ECOWAS special envoy to the country, briefed President Buhari on the political situation in Mali. The president is expected to return to the country on Friday. The House of Representatives is asking President Muhammadu Buhari to reinstate the suspended management of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF. The House made the resolution when it adopted a report of its committee which investigated the arbitrary breach of presidential directives on the suspension of top management and executive committee members of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund and other government agencies by ministers. This was one of the engagements which created a heated debate between Senator Chris Ngige and Honorable James Faleke. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Ondo State, Mr. Eyitayo Jegede, has challenged the APC government in the state, saying the PDP will win the October governorship election. Mr. Jegede was declared the winner of the Ondo State PDP governorship primary election held in Akure, the state capital. Jegede, former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in the state, polled 888 votes out of the total of 1,981 valid votes to defeat his closest rival, the Deputy Governor Agbola Ajayi, who had 657 votes.
By this victory, we serve a notice on the APC that for them, the end has come.
So let's get started, everyone. It's something that we've tried here at Channels Television to bring you up to speed about the happenings as regarding the NDDC. Tonight, we're back on that matter of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, and the huge allegations and counter-allegations that have come up time and time again. At least in the last few days, it's become a major talking point in the country. Today, the Senate is calling for the dissolution of the Interim Management Committee, IMC, of the Niger Delta Development Commission, and ask President Buhari to reconstitute the commission. The Senate made this call after considering a report from his ad hoc committee, which investigated alleged financial recklessness in the NDDC to the tune of 40 billion naira. It presents its report before the Senate, which details the inefficiencies and corruption in the NDDC. The NDDC, according to the report, spent 1.3 trillion naira between October 2015 and May 31st, 2019, with some of these spendings outside budgetary provision. That happened on the floor of the Senate. In the Green Chamber, issues around NDDC also came up. At today's plenary, the Speaker, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, directed the clerk of the House to issue a criminal complaint of perjury and civil defamation suit against Mr. Akpabio. Take a listen to him.
Instruct them to initiate a criminal complaint of perjury against the minister. At the same time, we will instruct counsel to explore the possibility of a civil defamation suit against the minister.
The Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has replied to lawmakers within the 48 hours ultimatum that he was given and has denied, saying that the lawmakers in the 9th Assembly benefited from contracts awarded by the Niger Delta Development Commission. The Speaker, Gbajabiamila, who announced the receipt of Senator Akpabio's response, said the minister claimed to have referred to old contracts awarded by the NDDC which had not been paid for and some of which are part of the constituency project of the lawmakers. Some issues are already coming up. Mr. Gbajabiamila said the minister's response would be referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges to look at the merits of his arguments. Tonight, let's give you a sense and a benefit of insight of how this has happened or what has happened or what the NDDC stands for and how this has gone over the years and where things have gone wrong. Tonight, I have a former Minister of Information, Information under the Olusegun Obasanjo administration, Mr. Frank Nweke Jr. joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Nweke, for joining us tonight. It's good to see you. And at some point, the NDDC, you superintend the NDDC. And the big question a lot of people will be asking, the billions and billions of naira that has been spent in the NDDC. That agency was set up to fix the poverty issue in the NDDC, to fix the development issue in the NDDC, but it doesn't look like it has happened. What went wrong, Mr. Nweke?
Well, thank you very much, Sheon. It's good to see you. But I'm just going to make a caveat. Of course, you agree with me that my being here tonight borders on ambush. Okay, this is not part of my plan when I set out to work this morning. But of course, I received this call and then this passionate request, and I said, well, I'll come in here. So part of what I'm going to be sharing is essentially residual knowledge from my time when I had them when I had the NDC under my supervision as Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs and Special Duties. And you did, in your preface a minute ago, you did state clearly that the establishment of the NDDC was a deliberate and conscious effort on the part of the government of President Obasanjo to really remedy the injustice and the infrastructure deficit, development deficit in the Niger Delta at the time. And this was what informed the establishment of the NDDC. And this was also what informed I think the increase of the derivation fund from about 3% at the time to about 13%. This was that was a statement by President Obasanjo at the time that he recognized that there were valid issues on development in the area, there were valid issues on the environment in the area, and for which reason he did this. But, you know, like you and like most Nigerians, I've watched with consternation and great embarrassment the drama in the National Assembly, the accusations and counter-accusations by high officials of government, and it's just completely disgraceful.
So the big question is, at some point we hear that the NDDC, of course, under your ministry at the time, was supervised by you. It's supposed to be supervised under the presidency at some point, under the SGF. Now is under the Ministry of the Niger Delta. How these monies were being stolen, allegedly, and how this contract became scandalous and as a scam comes to the mind of Nigerians of the workings of government. Where did things go wrong? Has it been like this? Have money been stolen from the onset like this?
Okay, well, Sheon, I must state clearly and with every sense of modesty that the administration in which I served under the leadership of President Obasanjo, I want to assure you that no high official of government could have contemplated the kind of impunity that we've heard, you know, openly owned up to, accepted, really explicitly stated at various fora in the ongoing probe. You couldn't even contemplate it. In any case, let us look at the mechanisms that were in the law establishing the NDDC. Okay. First of all, there is don't forget that a key component of what President Obasanjo of his agenda at the time was what was called the Due Process Office. The Due Process Office was established really to give Nigerians value for money. The Due Process Office was established at the time to ensure that the award of contract was done with some transparency and some integrity. And so this was under, if you remember, I think Mrs. Obi Ezekwesili, who went on to serve also as Minister for Solid Minerals and then subsequently Minister for Education before she eventually left for the World Bank. And this was done with a high level of professionalism, and I think the results were there for Nigerian citizens to see. And at that time, it was believed that Nigeria had turned the corner at the time. And of course, even though this was done at the federal level, but parastatals, agencies of government, were mandated. It was demanded of every agency of government to really embrace the due process initiative. And as minister in charge of the Niger Delta at the time, in the NDDC, as Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs, of course, we had to insist that their operations were consistent with the due process initiative or the agenda of the Obasanjo administration. And I must recollect at this time that there was some form of resistance at the time. And, there was a blowout between myself and I think Chairman Onyemu Ugochukwu at the time and his management team. There was a blowout. And of course, the president sided with me and they had to comply at the time. But more importantly, let me proceed to say that under that law, there's also something called the Presidential Monitoring Committee. And this Presidential Monitoring Committee was made up of Nigerians from diverse walks of life who had both the professional training and capacity to really, check things out, review what was being submitted, review the works that were being done, and then provide a quarterly report to the President of the Federal Republic. Now, under that same act, okay, the NDDC management were also required to actually submit quarterly reports to the minister, the supervising minister. So what I'm saying is that I received quarterly reports on the basis of which queries were issued where necessary, or advice was provided where necessary, as a way of also keeping the president informed that things were functioning well there. So the question is, where is the Presidential Monitoring Committee in all of this over the last 12 years? I mean, I've been out of government for about 12 years now. Where's the Presidential Monitoring Committee? Have they been doing their work? Okay, so the various ministers of supervising ministers, have they been receiving quarterly reports? So if they have been receiving quarterly reports, why has it taken this length of time for these issues to aggregate or accumulate to the kind of scandalous proportions that it has now assumed? And it's just incredible. And then only for these things to blow open in the face of government. So where are all these mechanisms, okay? Where are the auditors? Where are the auditors?
So we're looking at critically some issues that have been raised tonight, earlier today at the National Assembly. First and foremost, going forward, there is a suggestion or there is a report by the Senate that the IMC should be dissolved. What do you think about that?
First of all, Sheung, check. You can if you've never seen a copy of the NDDC Act, please, I need for you to try and get it after this interview. But I want to state categorically that there is absolutely no provision in that act for the establishment of an interim management committee, and therefore that move by government or for the administration to even to have allowed the establishment of the IMC is totally illegal. Okay, and I think that I recall very clearly that even when the Senate screened some members, some appointees but nominees by government by the President Buhari, I think about a year ago or thereabout. And then it was after that screening, okay, it was incredible to me, like it was to a lot of other people, that the president of the country would nominate people for screening and for appointment. These people were screened expeditiously by the Senate of the Federal Republic. And then They were just simply and the report was sent to the president, and then a minister then sort of seems to override the president's nominations, and then decides to institute an interim management committee. So for me, it's illegal and should not be allowed to stand. And you can see that revelations coming out, in the course of the hearings by the National Assembly underscores, both the illegality and then even the what should I call it now? The confusion that has been orchestrated by this interim management committee. And so I really think it's important that we go back to the path of law and order, that we respect the laws of our country. If an act of parliament is already in place, and then you don't have government undermining the laws of the country, doesn't say so much for the administration. It doesn't say so much for government.
So going forward, because we've heard a humongous amount of money, there have been allegations about monies that have been misappropriated. And the fact that there are allegations coming from members of the executive against lawmakers, and lawmakers are also accusing members of the executive, it does look like some kind of racketeering. Where do we go from here? You advise the government.
Well, it is important to my mind that the president reestablishes his authority over government. This is critical. This is extremely critical. And so a situation where you have members of your cabinet at each other's throat, or you have agencies of government undermining each other without much being heard from the presidential villa, it's not, it doesn't speak well for the administration. It doesn't speak well for the party in power. It does not speak well for Nigeria as a country. And so to your very specific question, the president must take charge. There must be some intervention to call the various institutions of government to order. It's really important. We cannot allow this situation to prevail. Leave even the parties out of it, okay? Leave the ministers out of it. We're talking about the country. The entire world is watching. The entire world is listening to this scandal that is going on. And unfortunately, this is not the only one at this time. So whichever way you look at it, Hush Puppy is being arrested, then the EFCC chairman is being arrested, then now it's the NDDC. Only God knows what else is going to come out. And so the president, the administration must step up for the sake of the country, for the sake of his own government, must step up to really call everyone to order. Okay? It is important to my mind that at this point, I mean, if I had my way, the entire management at the NDDC must be asked to step aside. If I had my way, I think that the minister of the Niger Delta should step aside, and then the president must institute an independent inquiry to really get to the bottom of what is happening, and then encourage and then subsequently ensure that the act establishing the NDDC is respected. And that, it is implemented. The various organs, various regulatory organs, the various reporting lines and things must be respected. The president himself ought to receive these reports quarterly from the Minister of the Niger Delta. This was what I did with President Obasanjo when I had supervisory functions over the NDDC.
All right.
And for which reason, with every sense of modesty, we didn't witness the kind of drama and maladministration that has occupied national headlines in the last couple of days and weeks.
Mr. Frank Nweke Jr., a former Minister of Information and Intergovernmental Affairs and Special Duties under the Obasanjo administration, thank you indeed for your time tonight and sharing your experience with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
Sean.
you so much.
Good.
So let's get some legal perspective quickly before we go into what the decision of the National Assembly is today on this matter of the NDDC. I have a lawyer, Mr. Anthony Ehilebo, who joins us now. Thank you so much, Mr. Ehilebo, for joining us tonight. There are critical issues here. One is what the speaker said today, that is going to be instituted against the minister. What does this mean in the process of law?
Well, it's quite interesting that the minister has made those comments, but I think the pertinent fact to look at is, why did he make such a comment to the extent that it has now become a running joke in the country? It is enough, it is okay, it is okay, it is okay. And that was a response coming from from the chairman of the inquiry on the part of the National Assembly. So it made them look complicit. It made Nigerians ask all the questions your honored guest just made. It made a whole mess of things. It made us look. It made the National Assembly. If in a perception management crisis, you would talk that they really have a crisis on their hands. And I think the Speaker did what he had to do to save the face of the National Assembly. And of course, I would love to see him follow through with what he has instructed his people in the office to do. Because you just don't come out and make wild allegations against an institution of government, only to perhaps store questions and look at all the gaslighting, as they said, that was done on that particular day. It's just a shame to us. And I think he has taken he is also a lawyer. I think he has taken appropriate steps within the law. He has made a criminal claim.
So, Mr. Ahilebo, the report by the Senate and the House at the end of the day, in the eye of the law, how does this play out? Can this be taken to court? Can the agencies, investigating agencies or anti-graft agencies take this up? Or where does this kind of report, because we've seen reports in the past that have just been gathering dust?
Okay, so I think the first question I would have loved to address is the legality of the IMC. I mean, the NDDC, in the act that created it, envisaged having a board that was constituted and was duly sworn in to carry out the management, or day-to-day management of the NDDC. How strange is it that we have an interim management committee that we're now being deluged or given so much evidence of corruption? So who in government thought it was a bright idea and sanctioned the creation of an illegal entity? So that itself gave the inroad to the members of the IMC to act illegally because they were created as an illegal creation. So what do you expect from them?
Mr. Anthony Ahilebo, lawyer, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight on the program. Appreciate it. But that's how we draw the curtains of the program. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.